Is there a value difference between store exclusives, retail incentives, and comic books ordered through Kickstarter? Let's find out. Hey there, today I have an unboxing video, and in this video I'm going to open up 3 different types of orders. I have an order of store exclusives, a pre-order where I pre-ordered a retailer incentive, and my very first order that I placed through Kickstarter. Now, I think it was placed through Kickstarter, at least I donated through Kickstarter, but then it was fulfilled through the artist who I'm supporting through his direct store. Now, what I want to do with this video is look at the 3 different types of comic books that I ordered and compare the values. And when I do talk about values, I am talking about monetary value. Certainly, there's different values when you're looking at the perspective of a collector, where store exclusives, you're probably buying those for the covers. Maybe also you're buying them for reasons related to maybe a limited edition, a limited quantity. Maybe you're collecting a certain type of cover, whether it's a foil cover, a signed book, and so forth. So there's definitely that aspect. Most of the time, I would say folks are buying store exclusives for a particular piece of cover art or cover art created by a certain artist. Then there's the retailer incentive, which again, you're buying probably because of its rarity. It too has probably some potential from a cover buy perspective, but you're buying that ratio incentive, the retailer incentive, just for the fact that it has that multiplier kind of built into it. And then the Kickstarter book has value because you're supporting a specific creator or a team of creators, or it could be a character, or some sort of reboot of a storyline and so on. So there's different reasons why potentially these books could have some value for you for either the art's sake or, again, supporting a store creative team and so forth. So I don't want to discount that value, but what I'm curious to see is between these 3 books, how do these books hold up monetarily when they all are similar in that they're limited in some way, shape, or form. And in certainly my case here, the creators involved and the artists that are putting together the covers are artists that I follow and collect, and I seek out their books. So on top of all that, then I want to add in the monetary value just to see how they hold up over time. So I'm going to get to the books here and show you what I bought. And it's kind of fun because there's the artists on these books, it kind of overlaps. So it'll be really interesting once we get into the order analysis to see if the values of these books are holding up, especially with some time that has passed. These are orders that have been sitting around for a little bit, and I am still trying to catch up. So I'm able to kind of see now that I've had the books for a little while and see if there is graded values and raw book values and just kind of see where things add up. So let's get to the books. Okay, so full disclosure, I recorded the actual unpacking of these books and it didn't record the audio, so here it is. I do apologize if you're used to me opening up packing materials and commenting on the tape monster and my various experiences with bubble wrap and so on, but I won't waste any more of your time. This is 3 separate orders. What you're looking at right now is the Kickstarter, and this is from Ji-Hyung Lee, and it's Gumaa, the beginning of her, and it's his creation, his self-published title. And what he did was he ran it through Kickstarter, and if you're not familiar with Ji-Hyung Lee's art, I am a fan of his, and I've ordered from his direct store many times and got very, very high quality books in that 9.6 and 9.8 quality. Most have been 9.8. So for many reasons, I wanted to support Ji-Hyung Lee and his project, but also, honestly, I wanted to get the Sosa Mica variant covers. So the way this worked is I went through Kickstarter, and I pledged $40 to his project, and that unlocked the set here, the Sozamaika set, where I was able to get the exclusive covers here, the Virgin copy, and the one with the trade. And it was one of those when I got kind of the spammy email like, hey, I've got a project, check it out. And I don't typically respond to those sorts of things, but again, kind of being a fan of Ji Young Lee, I checked it out. And when I started to see what what was kind of unlocked for sponsors or project backers, when I saw that Sozamaika was doing covers, I just jumped on it. So this was earlier 2022, and I would say this is right when Sozamaika was peaking with her Catwoman covers. And I mean, it's just gorgeous. It was one of those where as soon as I saw the book and saw what the project was about, it was kind of a no-brainer, and I thought $40 really was a really good deal to get 2 books. Normally, and you'll see this here in a second when we talk about the store exclusives, normally a set is a little bit more than $40. It could be like $45, $50, even $60 sometimes to get the trade and the Virgin together. But I'm also a big fan of Sozamaika and trying to get her Catwoman 1 in 25 incentives. And it was right around that time where I would say she's probably at the height of her popularity. And when I saw this, it was just, I had to have it. So I got the set here plus a digital copy of the story so I can read it digitally. And this cover looks great. I did notice a little bit of something on the bag here that I want to make sure that didn't go through on the book, but looks to be, again, in great shape, just fantastic. And then along with that, got a thank you card from Ji Young Lee, and then also looks like several like design cards, character designs. So I'm interested in checking out the story. Very interesting when you have an artist that's also doing the writing and the interiors. I'm really interested to kind of see this sort of thing, and I love supporting independent stories, independent artists. It's kind of strange, in my opinion. I'm kind of going off on a rant, and now you're actually seeing the next book here because I can't cover it up. But I often wonder, it's like we're in this digital age, and why creators aren't doing more of the digital only. And I think it's because of the collectability that always has driven the comic book hobby. We all love great stories. We love great artists. But there's also the collectability and the need to have a physical copy of the comic book. So I feel like the backing of this and the sponsorship was certainly for the creation of the comic, which I believe was pretty much all digital, except for then taking all of those digital assets and creating a physical book. I think a lot of the donations or the project backing, it really had to do with the actual physical publishing of the comic. Now, I want to get to the next book because it's kind of funny how all of these different orders have kind of have some things in common and overlapped. So speaking of Sozamaika, this is Catwoman 45. This is the 1 in 25 variant. I think it may be her last 1 in 25, if not close to it, but I'm pretty sure it is. And she actually is now doing the alternate covers. So she was on the retailer incentives, the 1 in 25s exclusively on Catwoman. And then they moved her to the open order alternate covers. And then Tula Lotay moved to the 1 in 25. So they've got kind of a like premium artist rotation. They've had Jeff DeCall, Jenny Frison on Catwoman covers. And of course, I've been right there buying all of the Catwoman covers. And I love this one. It very reminiscent of the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, which I'm a big fan of. So this was, I mean, just the details on the jewelry, the look, the pose, the framing in the background. I really thought that this was one of her better covers. And it's interesting to me, too, because now that her books are open order, I don't want to say she's not as popular, but it's almost like her popularity and the fact that it was a 1 in 25, they kind of went hand in hand, in my opinion. It kind of boosted her popularity. I actually have not ordered the open order comics. I really was just sticking to the 1 in 25. So it really was a great combination of rarity, great cover art, a hot up and coming artist, Had a lot of things going for it, plus Catwoman, so I was all over it. This I pre-ordered from Golden Apple Comics. They happened to have the book there. It was probably a little bit more than I wanted to pay, and I'll show you what I paid for all these books here at the end. But I wanted to make sure I secured a copy. I couldn't get it from Things from Another World at the time, and I don't believe Dark Dominion Comics had it either. And Golden Apple was the one place online that I had found it. I had missed out on the Stadium Comics pre-ordering window. You got to jump on that super early. So anyway, I got this one from Golden Apple Comics, and just looking at it through the bag, it looks to be in very, very good shape. It does have a little bit of whitening or tearing up there, as sometimes the cardstocks do, but I probably have most of her 1 in 25s in case I want to build a set, and would love to get all of those graded and hopefully graded in a 9.8. Now, the last set, this is from 616 Comics, and this is the store exclusive set where I ordered the David Nakayama Captain Carter #1. It was another one of those where sometimes I'll see store exclusives and think, boy, that's just gorgeous. I very, very nice. And then I'll pass, and then a few months later, the book's still there, and maybe it's a buy two, get one free. And then the fact that it's there and hasn't been sold out, then I'm kind of soured on it for some reason. This one to me was just automatic. So as soon as I saw it, it was Nakayama, it was Captain Carter, it was a #1 issue. It was available at 616 Comics, which just like Ji Hyung Lee and Golden Apple, I've had really good experience with. So I just went ahead and ordered it. And what I ended up doing was I got 2 sets. So this is each of the trades. So I got a trade and a version of this book, Captain Carter #1. So that's the trade. And then I got 2 copies here without the trade, which I think is pretty awesome with the Union Jack in the background. It's just, I think it's very, very well designed. I like the scale. Her feet are cut off, but for the most part, just a full body pose of the character. Not exactly like the Catwoman, where it was a Michelle Pfeiffer kind of look-alike, so to speak. I don't believe this was a Haley Atwell inspired, but I mean, possibly a little bit. I think definitely in the facial features, certainly it's possible. But I think more than that, it was done in the David Nakayama style. And again, I can totally see this in a slab as a, without the trade. I really like this version, and I'm happy to get this one. 616 has also delivered pretty high quality books, so I'm looking forward to opening these up and grading these. And I have a couple of other Captain Carter 9.8s already slabbed, so this would really go nicely together. So I'm very curious to see what the values are on these and if they're holding up. Now, in order to unlock free shipping, which I'm all about, I had to get the order over $100. So I threw this one in, and this is X-Men #7. Again, David Nakayama. This is a gorgeous magic cover. The all black cover is going to be a problem in order to get it in a 9.8. And I can already see a little bit of an issue right there. There's some sort of, I don't know if it's a chipping of some sort or deep scratch of some kind right there on the cover of the book. It is not on the bag. And so that's unfortunate. And with this one, I'm curious about looking at the values, because would have just been cheaper or more cost effective to just buy this already slabbed. And this is one of the things where this particular variant is available on a number of stores, not just 616. I think Unknown Comics has it. Some of the Canadian stores have it. So you can find these variants. They're very, very common. And I think that a lot of times collectors like me are buying these and they want to get them graded, and then they maybe tire of them or for whatever reason decide to sell them. And the 9.8s of these, I think, are very affordable. So that's where it's a little bit of a head scratcher for me. I know I wanted to unlock free shipping, but, more power to the stores for incentivizing a free shipping, because they totally got me there, because I would have paid whatever it was, $12, $14 to get these books shipped anyway. So I'm like, hey, I'll just get a free comic. But then on the other hand, I could have just got it slabbed in a CGC 9.8. So these are the books that I got. Again, I apologize for skipping the actual unpacking. I know that's not the most interesting part of the videos, but these are the books from the 3 orders, and I'll show you the breakdown of these 3 orders, what I paid for them, And let's see if we compare between a Kickstarter, a retailer incentive, and store exclusives, which one of these sort of strategies also are including a bit of monetary value that I can add to my collection. All right, here is the breakdown of the 3 orders that I placed. Once again, it was an artist direct order is the way that I'm classifying this. It was technically a Kickstarter, but it was fulfilled through ghyung.com. And that was the Gumaa Sozamaika set for the 2 books. I put $20 a piece. I could maybe adjust it. You always assume like the virgin cover is going to cost a little bit more, but with this being Kickstarter, I just split the difference. It was a $40 order. They did charge me $9 to ship, and so it was a total cost of $49 to get those 2 books from the Ji Young Lee Kickstarter. The 616 Comics order, it was a 5-book order. Again, I kind of split the virgin cover and the trade version and assigned $30 to the virgin and $15 to the trade for a total cost of $104.95. It unlocked free shipping. There was no tax, so that was super nice that I was able to do that from 616. And then just again, comparing all 3 orders, the 1 in 25 Catwoman number 45 Sozamaika cover, I pre-ordered it for $45, definitely over ratio, that's for sure, but I wanted to make sure that I got it. I really wanted that comic, and it was the only place I could find it. For pre-order, I'm sure you could find it now. We'll look at the fair market values here in a second. You can kind of get a sneak peek over there of what it is, but I was charged an additional $6.99 to ship, along with $4.27 tax, for a total cost of $56.26 to acquire the book. Now, if my math is correct, when I'm looking at the total cost for the book, I've definitely applied the tax and shipping to the Catwoman book, as well as the shipping cost to the 2 Ji Young Lee Kickstarter books. The 616 books are what they are. I did not have to pay shipping for those. So if we're looking at column U in terms of fair market value and comparing it with column AA, this essentially means, was I able to add any positive value to my collection, or did I take a loss on some of these books? And what's interesting is, according to cover price, these 2 books, the Gumaa, The Beginning of Her, do not have any value right now. Now, it doesn't mean that there weren't any copies sold. It's just cover price is not reporting any data on this. So I'm remaining consistent and using cover price as my source, and I'm not jumping into eBay recently sold items. And I'm just marking this up as a loss of $49 in terms of value. I do realize if I put them up on eBay and just put an open auction, they would sell for something. But if I'm using cover price for all of my books, I want to, again, be consistent there. But do I feel good spending $49 on those 2 books and supporting the artist and getting a great Sozamaika variant? Absolutely. For the 616 order, I can see here from a raw value perspective, I've added $125.05 of value to my collection, and primarily because I was able to secure 2 copies of the Captain Carter #1 Nakayama Virgin variant, and cover price is reporting a fair market value for those books at $82 each. So that was a really, really nice gain. Again, just kind of guesstimating that it was about a $30 purchase on those. Love that. And it's one of those where I could potentially sell one of them and it would cover the entire cost of the order. I much prefer the virgin covers over the trade on that one, so I would try and possibly move one of the other ones to get some money back. But all in all, very happy to add those 2 sets. Even the trade version is a nice $13.01 add. The X-Men #7 cover price is saying that was worth $10. I paid $15. Again, kind of a head scratcher all around. I still love the book, but just in terms of comparing the value and trying to make smart decisions with my money, probably not the best variant. I probably could have picked any other book, but I am curious to see if that has any CGC graded value as well. Last book, Catwoman 45, cover price is reporting that as an $87 book raw. So even though I overpaid, if you're talking about paying at or around ratio plus shipping plus tax, still as a raw book, it was a $30.74 value add. Now, the Gumaa book, I don't believe has any 9.8. In fact, I did check GPA before this, and there's like a preview edition that has some reported sales at a 9.8, but nothing for cover E and cover F. So I'm going to leave off my grade on those. They are what they are. But the other books, I do believe that there is some graded data. So I'm going to go ahead and push this through and pretend that I got 9.8s on all of these so we can see what the CGC potential is here if I were to get these books graded. And we can see, again, the Captain Carter #1, the Virgin cover, has a CGC 9.8 value of $136. So if I were to look at this 616 order from the CGC perspective, I could add $193.29 of value to my collection if I were to get these 5 books graded and sent off to CGC. Now, if I'm looking at X-Men #7, I'm only gaining around $6 of value if I were to send that book in for grading. Now, there's a couple of problems here. #1, I don't believe that book is a 9.8 because it's got the little white scratch or cut on the front cover on the outside edge. And then secondly, like I was saying, sometimes you can find these store exclusives that people have purchased and they've tried to flip and make a few dollars graded. If you ask me, like, okay, you're going to pay $15 for that book raw, and if you have the intention to grade it, it's going to cost you, some amount of money. Or if you wanted to pay all of that, but pay $6 and it's guaranteed 9.8, I'm buying it all day long. So this is being reported as a $53.67 book in a CGC 9.8. And again, if I'm thinking about the hassle and the cost involved of sending that book into CGC, I'd rather just pay between $50 and $60 to have it already graded. And that's if you're into getting these slabbed, of course. You could just enjoy the book raw and it's perfectly fine. But that one I just am kind of kicking myself because I probably could have selected a different book. Also because I know it's not a 9.8. That's a little disappointing as well. When you're ordering from these sort of Shopify-based stores, these store-exclusive stores, they always mark their books and say, hey, we can't guarantee 9.8. We can only guarantee 9.2 and up. And if that's the only defect on that book, it probably is a 9.2 or a 9.4. So I get that, but it is what it is. Now, the last book is Catwoman 45, and in a 9.8, the CGC value of that book is $128.67 for a $39.72 value add for that order, just slightly above the raw book value. So if you're thinking about what would I do with this book, am I trying to resell it? Am I trying to flip it? Then in that case, I would suggest you probably just want to go ahead and deal with it raw, because there's certainly a chance that it could not come back to 9.8. If you were doing a pre-screen or you were absolutely certain that it was, then you could potentially do it. But is it worth only adding $9 to your margin? Probably not. You're probably better off just selling it raw and making around $30 for that book if that's what you were into. However, for me in that book, I'm far more interested in getting all of those slabbed, hopefully in a 9.8, but have some sort of consistent display. I like to go with themes with my graded books. Behind me, I've got a nice selection of some of my favorite independent books that I have been able to get graded in a 9.8. Most of these I bought myself and I sent them in. Some of them I bought already pre-slabbed in a 9.8. But I like themes, and having all of the Souza Micah Catwoman books together in a 9.8 would be awesome. So I will probably end up sending those in a batch. I think I've got some Catwoman incentives in a pre-screen. And so if this one grades out, I would probably go ahead and submit that in another pre-screen and try and get some consistency there. But if I'm going to look back at these 3 orders in terms of, was it worth it? Do I feel like I've either added monetary value or supported a store or supported a creator? Yeah, I think so. I'm very happy that the Ji Young Lee project was funded. Hopefully my contribution mattered. And obviously it helped the bottom line for that project and it got funded. But I probably only have a tiny regret, and that's on that X-Men 7. And it's just, sometimes I just get in the mood like it's time to order some exclusives because I love the cover. And I'm not really thinking about it. And it's just one of those where, am I thinking about it with my wallet and with my data, or am I thinking about it emotionally from like an art appreciation perspective? You know, as a comic book collector, sometimes you get caught up in it. I want to start collecting runs of books. I want to start following artists, and I want to do these things. And I know I was buying those specific Captain Carter variants by David Nakayama, so I'm sure I put into the 616 Comics search Nakayama whatever, and certain books came back, and I was like, I love Magic, I love X-Men, Nakayama's awesome. I'll just drop that in the cart, and boom, I've unlocked free shipping. And then I check out. Meanwhile, the book has minimal value at best, and certainly probably could have just already bought it slabbed. Now, that one book, though, was, I would say, not insignificant, but not super significant in terms of what I was trying to do in setting up these 3 orders and comparing them. I don't know if I would do another Kickstarter. I think that one of the things I realized was, although getting Sozomaika's covers as sort of an exclusive through the Kickstarter, what I noticed was other online stores had other variants and exclusives based off of this. So I was a little confused because I really thought that all of the different variants for this comic book, this project, would only be available through Kickstarter. And what ended up happening was your basic project was available in Kickstarter with exclusives there, but then I think even Golden Apple had a Gumaa, the beginning of her variant there. You could just buy it outright and you wouldn't have to deal with the Kickstarter. Not that dealing with the Kickstarter was a negative, it was just a little confusing to me. It's just like, I'm an independent creator, I want you to support me. Meanwhile, I've also got variants out there on the market normally, and you don't have to go through Kickstarter. So it was just kind of a strange experience there. But I think that I was very, very pleased with the value on those Nakayama Captain Carters. And I've talked about the Catwoman incentives enough, but again, that was more of, I'm collecting those. I know I'm going to pay a little bit more. I still am betting that it will be valuable even after I overpay. And I came out ahead on that one. I was right. So it kind of balanced itself out, I think, in general. I'm happy to support independent creators as much as possible. All of these books look amazing and look fantastic, and very, very happy to add them to my collection. And thank you for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.